French fries, written and read by Mary Teresa, copyright 2016. When I was young, there lived a very old man, Mr. S., who lived in a shack built of discarded bits of wood from discarded and broken furniture that he found in the village dump. He was my cousin's grandpa, and he made the best French fries ever, sitting on his haunches in front of a boiling cauldron of bubbling lard. Come to think of it, the lard, probably come from the village dump too. Regardless or irregardless, they were the best French fries a penny could buy. Everyone in town bought French fries from him, and his penny jar would be overflowing by fall time. He grew his own potatoes. I know, 'cause Phil and me would dig and hoe and pack up the dirt to make them plants into little hills, so as they don't get over wet, Mr. S. would say. Taters get bad and soft if they get wet. Since his taters were always firm and evenly colored, without that nasty green of Grandma's store-bought potatoes from the general store, I'd guessed Mr. S. knew what he was talking about. The folk there kept him in business. When the winters came, and it was -30 and worse, of course, anything lower than -30 'twas all the same bone-chill and skin-blistering cold, and Mr. S. couldn't fry his taters, he still had the pennies to buy himself food, and the priest from the Injun settlement, 20 minutes that away, always made sure he got wood for his stove. Nevertheless, after one bitter long storm, just before Christmas in my 10th year, the priest found Mr. S. frozen solid, taking a shit. They had to take him to the city to thaw his body out enough so as it could fit flat into a coffin. Didn't seem respectable, is all, my mamma said. All Mr. S.'s stuff went right back into that village dump, 'cause no one else found value in it. That lard festered something awful the first hot spring day, but Phil and me found dozens and dozens of them smooth taters in Mr. S.'s secret garden, enough to share with all the family, and then some. Grandma and the other old ladies, they tried to figure out Mr. S.'s lard dump tricks. No one could. Seemed odd that summer, not lining up where the highway forked into the town, and finding the news from folks as they lined up there too. Mouths watering more the closer and closer you got to that bubbling cauldron of dump lard. The next summer, they diverted the highway, and we didn't miss lining up no more. Highway killed the town, Grandma said the day the general store closed, and closed its lunch counter that once had standing room only just about the year round. Grandma lost her job just like that. I figured, though, 'twas all Mr. S. cursing the folks for making fun of his dying with a shit hanging out, and cursing the town into its demise. I was still young, and spoke these words indiscriminately, for which Grandma admonished me with her leather strap, telling me, shouting, really, that Mr. S. was a drunk old fool who drunk his money away and is burning in hell for the pleasure of it. My ass hurt, and soon's Grandma missed a beat, I took off. Her yelling at me all the way down the boardwalk wasn't enough to bring me back. Grandma lost her place above the general store, and she and I moved to the city to live with my ma. City ain't no place for a country boy, and I ain't got much good to say about that. Ain't no point to this part of the story, nor no lesson to be learned neither. Hitched a ride back home, not so long ago. Man driving the truck had never heard the name of the place I was looking for. I've been driving this road damn near 20 years, he said, jerking his head back towards the cargo hold. Never heard of that place. Only stop on the highway, is the Métis town. The stuff's going there. How's it engines living here doing so well? I asked, for I knew his destination, and it was the settlement we kids had avoided at the pain of the leather strap. He mentioned what his cargo was, and it weren't no ghetto cargo. Whites used to own that land, I added. The man looked queerly at me. Banks foreclosed on all that land just before the war, he said, and he reminded me of it by his saying it. That's what happened to Mr. S. It's what happened to Grandpa, too, but he didn't die with shit frozen to his bottom, but with a bullet from his favorite hunting rifle. Making Grandma work as a waitress at the general store and fending for 6 of her own children and me. One bad crop too many, and the mortgage could not be paid. Claimed it, the man continued, soon after the highway went through and the white folks ruined it. The driver eyed me out of the corner of his eye. They're looking for good hard workers in their new plant. You a good hard worker? He asked me then. He added, no booze. Am a good hard worker when I can find a job. Don't talk proper American, though. I suspect that stops some folks from hiring me. I thought for a bit, and the driver drove for a bit, 'cause I figure he saw the smoke rising from my ears, signifying my thinking process. I can do without the booze, I concluded. City's no place for a country boy, I said a little softer. My stomach rumbled way too loudly and crowded out that thought. I couldn't remember when I'd last attended to it. The driver pulled off of the road, and I figured he didn't like no boozer, and he was going to ask me to get out. He just set about to eating his lunch and sharing more than half with me. I'll put a good word in for you, he finally said as I licked the crumbs of a real roast beef sandwich from my fingertips. I know the foreman, he said, and added, he's my daddy. I felt like a real horse's ass, displaying as I'd done my disdain for his folks. They done better by me than the city folks, who should have seen by the color of my skin that I was their kin. They got me a real job and a real home, and I feel like a real man for all them things. I ain't never felt like no real man, slumming in the city, lining up for welfare money, instead of steaming hot French fries. I come from a long line of racists, yet these Injuns like me anyway. I get the feeling they don't believe in no hell, nor curses therefrom. Now if I can only get me a drink.